money the only thing that matters to you?
That's pretty funny coming from a guy who calls himself 50 Cent.
The original 50 Cent Bulletproof was one of the top-selling games of 2005, but that's not because it was one of the best. It's not surprising that with such a huge fan following across several types of media, the game was bound to sell no matter what. The same can probably be said for the PSP version, which does offer a completely new way to play. But G Unit Edition is still just a vehicle for 50's tracks, videos, and clothing. Any resemblance to an actual video game is purely coincidental.
You ain't shit!
The story is one of the few commendable aspects of the game. It's told through slickly directed CG cutscenes that lead one to believe that Bulletproof might make a halfway decent popcorn action flick. 50's old cellmate K-Dog gets kidnapped and eventually killed, and you're left to figure out the who and why. In your vengeful search for the truth, you'll come across underground thugs, corrupt cops, and every other ghetto cliche out there. The cutscenes can be skipped, but seeing as they're the only interesting part of the game, maybe the gameplay sequences should be skippable instead.
I don't play that shit!
The graphics are on par with several other good-looking PSP games, but that's about all there is to admire. The idea behind Bulletproof is simple enough. Go through the levels blasting everybody you see with whatever weapons you have on you, and then kick their lifeless bodies to get money and jewelry. And 50 never lets you forget how tough he is when punting people he's just executed, by spewing phrases that would make a Commando-era Schwarzenegger cringe.
I make it look easy.
Yes, 50, because kicking dead bodies is a real challenge. The money you get can be used to purchase new counter kills, music tracks, videos, and clothing for 50 to wear in the game. You can also buy ammo, health, and body armor, but only when you're in your hood between levels, so it's not very useful. From the tracks you buy, you can set up custom playlists to listen to while playing the game. This would be awesome if video games were judged solely by their music, but they're not.
You gonna let 50 do you like that?
The missions require you to make your way through poorly designed levels, kill the same 3 or 4 people over and over, and finally confront a boss who has info about K-Dog's murder. Boss fights are as complex as firing round after round while they do the same until hopefully they die first. There are also random puzzles, but they're even easier to understand. Usually, one of the faceless thugs you kill will leave an obvious clue. In the mansion, there are 4 alarm keypads you have to activate in a particular order to disarm the system. Eventually, you find a note that says office, game room, kitchen, library. And we're not paraphrasing, that's exactly what it says.
Shit, I impress myself sometimes.
The controls feel like Metal Gear, but without the slick presentation that Kojima's team is known for. The overhead view and some of the mission objectives are also reminiscent of MGS. We might get struck down by the gaming gods for even mentioning 50 Cent and Solid Snake in the same sentence. The isometric view is an interesting choice, but it makes it very difficult to tell where doorways are, and the map doesn't help at all. There are around 5 or 6 minutes of fun to be had witnessing the over-the-top counter kills, but the combat as a whole is woefully bad. You can empty an entire Uzi clip into a bad guy and still not take him down. And until an enemy is dead, they show no signs of even a minor ache from the bullets supposedly ripping through their flesh. The whole time you're pumping guys full of lead, they just keep firing at you, so there's no real way to avoid getting hit. You can grab a guy to use him as a human shield, which is a good idea in theory, but your enemies will keep attacking you anyway. And you can't reload while you're holding someone, so after a few seconds, you're dead in the water.
Yeah! Game over, nigga!
There is a dive move to dodge attacks, but you have to hold 2 buttons and then press a third to activate it, so it's not exactly a quick evasive maneuver. You can also rotate the camera, but it's done in such a way that you're completely immobile and defenseless while doing so, and you can't move it if you're too close to a wall.
You motherfuckers weak!
The overall control setup is too complicated. Some buttons have multiple functions. If you're not careful, you might waste 3 or 4 seconds reloading a gun or picking up another one instead of kicking a dead guy. And since the run button is the same as the counter kill button, you'll find yourself running away from somebody instead of executing them if your aim is a little off.
Shit, you crazy? What you been smoking?
Counter kills, which should be G Unit's saving grace, are problematic too. The counter kill move is based on what weapon the bad guy is holding. Say you're holding a shotgun, and you counter kill a guy with a knife. Chances are, the counter kill will involve taking the knife and using it against him. After the animation is finished, you're left holding the knife, and have to manually switch back to whatever weapon you were using before. This is extremely annoying in the middle of a 1-on-5 firefight. $50 Cent has a great track record as a rapper, a respectable turn in movies with Get Rich or Die Tryin', and a popular clothing line, but this video game is absolutely abysmal. It could be a raw and visceral action title, but it's merely another way to distribute his music and generate interest in his clothing. If you like 50's tracks, but don't own any of his CDs, then buy the CDs.
Eat this shit. I know that's gotta hurt.